Hello guys, welcome to the Yellow Submarine. Today we would be looking at one of our favorites, the Beatles hit song, From Me to You. But before we start, hit the subscribe button to get more amazing Beatles videos from us. From Me to You is a song by the English rock band The Beatles that was released in April 1963 as their third single. It was written by Paul McCartney and John Lennon. The song was the Beatles' first #1 hit on what became the official UK singles chart, but the second after Please Please Me on most of the other single charts published in the UK at the time. From Me to You failed to make an impact in the United States at the time of its initial release. Instead, a 1963 cover version released by Del Shannon resulted in the song becoming the first Lennon-McCartney tune to enter the US pop charts. The Beatles' original was re-released in the United States in January 1964 as the B-side to Please Please Me and reached number 41. Lennon and McCartney began writing From Me to You while on a coach heading to Shrewsbury as part of the Beatles tour with Helen Shapiro. The title was inspired by the name of the letter section of the New Musical Express, which they had been reading From You to Us. McCartney noted that their early songs tended to include the words I, me, or you in them, as a way of making them very direct and personal to the band's fans. In his 1980 interview with Playboy, Lennon recalled writing the song, "We were writing it in a car, I think, and I think the first line was mine. I mean, I know it was mine. Hums melody of the first line. And then after that, we took it from there. It was far bluesier than that when we wrote it. The notes, today you could rearrange it pretty funky." Before that interview, Lennon had stated, "We nearly didn't record it because we thought it was too bluesy at first. But when we'd finished it and George Martin had scored it with harmonica, it was alright." McCartney also talked about rearranging the song in 1964. From Me to You, it could be done as an old ragtime tune, especially the middle 8. And so we're not writing the tunes in any particular idiom. In 5 years, we may arrange the tunes differently, but we'll probably write the same old rubbish. Singer-songwriter Roger Greenaway recounted a story, further explanation needed. John and Paul were sitting at the back of the coach, and Kenny Lynch, who at the time fancied himself as a songwriter, sauntered up to the back of the coach, and Kenny Lynch decided he would help them write a song. After a period of about a half an hour had elapsed, and nothing seemed to be coming from the back, Kenny rushed to the front and shouted, "Well, that's it. I am not going to write any more of that bloody rubbish with those idiots. They don't know music from their backsides. That's it. No more help from me." Regardless, the song was regarded by the Beatles as innovative and catchy enough to be released as a single. This was one Lennon-McCartney song that the duo truly co-wrote. McCartney described it as very much co-written. George Martin said of the song, "I asked them for another song as good as Please Please Me, and they brought me one, From Me to You." There seemed to be a bottomless well of songs. The recording on March 5, 1963 at EMI Studios in 6 takes with 7 edit pieces and went without a hitch, and on April 11th, Parlophone released From Me to You in the UK as a single, with Thank You Girl on the B-side, catalog number R5015. 9 days later, it kicked off a 21-week run in the British charts, reaching #1 on May 4th. A position it would retain for 7 weeks. From Me to You featured Lennon playing harmonica in a Jimmy Reed-inspired blues style he had learned from Delbert McClinton, another American who was on the same bill with the Beatles in the early 60s. "It's chiseled in stone now that I taught Lennon how to play the harmonica," McClinton said. John said, "Show me something. I was in a pretty unique position. There just weren't a lot of people playing harmonica in popular music." From Me to You was the first Beatles song to reach #1 in the UK and is widely considered to be the first chart-topping song. For although Please Please Me reached the summit on almost every chart, it was only #2 on Record Retailer's chart, generally considered to be the most authoritative for the time. From Me to You would be the first of 11 consecutive British #1 singles by the Beatles. From Me to You replaced Jerry and the Peacemakers' How Do You Do It, a song that had been offered to the Beatles and even recorded by them, though it remained officially unreleased until 1995, but ultimately rejected by them in favor of Please Please Me. Jerry and the Peacemakers, who also hailed from Liverpool, were very much rivals of the Beatles in their early days. Jerry and the Peacemakers attained the first #1, How Do You Do It, before the Beatles, and also claimed their second and third #1s before the Beatles did, slowly losing steam afterward as Beatlemania launched and the Beatles dominated music worldwide in 1964. A true indication of how successful the Beatles became thanks to From Me to You, though it would soon be overshadowed by She Loves You and I Wanna Hold Your Hand, was expressed by McCartney. "The first time I thought we'd made it, was when I was lying in bed one morning and I heard a milkman whistling From Me to You. I'm sure that I once heard a bird whistling it as well. I swear, I did. Looking back, it's easy to think of the Beatles as a sure thing. In 1963, the band featured 3 bona fide lead singers, 2 talented songwriters, and the swagger to electrify crowds. However, Paul McCartney didn't think it was enough to take America by storm. "We mustn't go to America until we've got a #1 record," Paul recalled telling Brian Epstein, the Beatles' manager at the time. Though the band would go on to rack up an unthinkable 20 chart-topping singles, the first one wasn't easy to come by. During the interviews for Anthology, Paul described From Me to You, a previous single, as a flop in America. He didn't want the band to arrive and end as an opening act for singers like Fabian, as the lesser British bands had to do during that era. He wanted to arrive on top. When Epstein and the band saw the success of I Wanna Hold Your Hand in the UK, they knew they had their in. In December of '63, upon the single's release in America, it sold 750,000 copies in 3 days. Soon enough, the Fab Four would have its first #1 in the States. I Wanna Hold Your Hand grabbed the #1 spot just before the Beatles arrived. Paul's wish for a perfectly timed hit came true in early 1964. With the band booked to play Ed Sullivan's show on February 9th, the release of I Wanna Hold Your Hand just before New Year's Day built up an absurd amount of anticipation. By mid-January, the single entered the Billboard charts. In the last week of the month, it hit #3 while record stores struggled to keep up with demand. On February 1st, it reached #1 after bumping off Bobby Vinton's There, I've Said It Again. 6 days later, before any song had a chance to dethrone it, the Beatles arrive at Kennedy Airport and the phenomenon known as Beatlemania officially commenced. When the Beatles played Ed Sullivan a few days later, the record remained at the top of the Billboard charts. It took an impressive 7 weeks before I Want to Hold Your Hand relinquished the top spot. As you might have guessed, it took another Beatles song to shove it aside. She Loves You followed at #1. Next came Can't Buy Me Love. The only song that could knock it down a peg was She Loves You, another Beatles smash in the UK. The chorus first track held the top spot for another 2 weeks. On April 4th, Can't Buy Me Love took over at #1 and stayed there for the rest of the month. It wasn't until May 9th, when Louis Armstrong's Hello Dolly bumped it aside, that the Fab Four finally let go of the top spot on the US charts. The run had lasted more than 3 months, but the Beatles weren't done. In May, the band scored another #1 with Love Me Do. A Hard Day's Night followed in August. When I Feel Fine topped the charts in December, it made 6 #1 hits in the same year. Needless to say, no other recording artist has ever matched that. When the Beatles arrived in '64, Elvis was the only one who'd come close, with 4, twice in the late 50s. That's it for today. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button for more content. See you next time.